The familiar chime of a phone notification pierced through the quiet office space. Sarah glanced down at her screen, her heart sinking as she read the message from her friend Olivia. "Everything's falling apart. I don't know what to do anymore." The usually composed business owner's distress was palpable even through text. Sarah immediately grabbed her car keys, her half-finished reports forgotten on her desk. 20 minutes later, she pulled up to a modest storefront in downtown Atlanta. The grand opening coming soon. Banner that had once hung proudly was now drooping on one side, much like its owner's spirits. Through the window, Sarah could see Olivia sitting at a small table, head in her hands, surrounded by stacks of papers. Their friendship had begun 3 years ago at a local business networking event. While others traded rehearsed elevator pitches, Sarah and Olivia had found themselves sharing genuine laughs over terrible coffee and their mutual disdain for corporate jargon. Despite their different backgrounds and experiences, they'd formed an instant connection that transcended the usual superficial business relationships. Now, watching her friend in distress, Sarah remembered all the times Olivia had been there for her, the late-night pep talks during Sarah's divorce, the unwavering support when she lost her mother, and the genuine joy when Sarah's consulting firm had finally taken off. Success meant nothing if you couldn't lift others up along the way. "Girl, you look like you need some of that awful coffee we had when we first met," Sarah announced as she walked in, attempting to lighten the mood. Olivia looked up, her eyes red but a small smile breaking through. "I think I need something stronger than coffee right now," she replied, gesturing to the papers scattered across the table. The next few hours revealed the full scope of the situation. Olivia's dream of opening her own beauty supply store, specifically catering to natural hair care, was hitting major roadblocks. Despite her impeccable business plan and years of industry experience, banks had denied her loan applications. The last potential investor had pulled out that morning, citing concerns about the market viability. A phrase both women knew often masked deeper biases. Sarah listened intently, her business consultant mind already racing with possibilities. She'd seen the research showing the massive untapped potential in the natural hair care market. She'd witnessed firsthand how Olivia's expertise had helped countless women embrace their natural beauty. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about breaking down barriers that shouldn't exist in 2024. What if we approached this differently? Sarah began, pulling out her laptop. "Remember how you helped me restructure my entire business model last year?" She paused, a plan forming in her mind that would either be brilliant or crazy, possibly both. The next words out of her mouth would change both their lives in ways neither could have anticipated. The sun had begun to set outside, casting long shadows through the storefront windows. The coffee they'd ordered hours ago sat cold and forgotten. As Sarah laid out her proposition, Olivia's expression shifted from skepticism to disbelief to something that looked suspiciously like hope. What happened next would not only transform their friendship, but would send ripples through their entire community. Little did they know, their story would soon become a powerful testament to what can happen when people choose to see beyond surface differences and take bold steps to challenge the status quo. As they sat in that empty store, surrounded by dreams that refused to die, neither woman could have predicted how their next decision would spark a movement that would inspire thousands. But before we reveal what happened next, let's talk about why this story matters to you, to your community, and to anyone who's ever faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Because sometimes the most powerful changes start with a simple message on a quiet afternoon, and a friend who refuses to stand by and watch another's dreams crumble. The weight of the moment hung in the air as Sarah pulled out her phone and opened her banking app. She'd spent the last 5 years building her consulting firm from the ground up, carefully saving and reinvesting profits. The number in her account represented countless late nights, missed weekends, and sacrificed vacations. But as she looked at Olivia across the table, she remembered something her grandmother used to say. Sometimes the biggest returns come from investing in people, not portfolios. Olivia's journey to this moment hadn't been easy. Growing up in a small town in Georgia, she'd started doing hair in her mother's kitchen at age 14. What began as a way to help neighbors save money turned into a passion for helping women feel confident in their natural beauty. She'd worked her way through college, managing other people's beauty supply stores, learning the business from the inside out, all while noting the gaps in the market, the missed opportunities, and the customers who left frustrated because they couldn't find products that truly met their needs. You know what's ironic? Olivia said, shuffling through her rejected loan applications. Every store I've managed has seen at least a 30% increase in profits under my leadership. I've got letters of recommendation from 3 previous employers. I've got market research showing a 90% demand for natural hair care products in this area. But somehow, I'm still considered too risky for a standard business loan. Sarah thought about her own journey. Yes, she'd worked hard, but she also acknowledged the doors that had opened more easily for her, the benefit of the doubt she'd often been given, the networks she'd been welcomed into. Success wasn't just about hard work, it was also about access to opportunities. That's when Sarah started sharing her vision. It wasn't just about providing capital, it was about creating a partnership that would leverage both their strengths. Sarah's business consulting experience combined with Olivia's industry expertise and genuine connection with the community could create something revolutionary. Not just another beauty supply store, but a movement that would address a genuine need while challenging industry norms. As they discussed possibilities, a small crowd began to gather outside the storefront. Women pressed their faces against the glass, trying to peek inside what they hoped would be their neighborhood's newest beauty supply store. One lady even knocked on the door, asking when they would open. The interest was organic, immediate, and proved everything Olivia had been saying about market demand. The situation reminded Sarah of a conference she'd attended last month, where a speaker had discussed the massive gap between market potential and accessible funding in minority-owned businesses. The statistics were staggering, but sitting here now, watching potential customers literally knocking on the door, those numbers had faces. They had stories. They had dreams of their own. Sarah stood up and walked to the window, watching as more curious onlookers gathered. She turned back to Olivia, her mind made up. The words she spoke next would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge not just their friendship, but their entire understanding of business, community, and the true meaning of success. What she didn't realize was that their story would soon catch the attention of someone who would take their mission to an entirely unexpected level. Sarah took a deep breath and laid out her proposal. She would invest half of her company's emergency fund into Olivia's business. It wasn't just a loan. She wanted to be a silent partner, offering both capital and business expertise while letting Olivia maintain creative control and majority ownership. The amount wasn't enough to completely fund the store, but it would be substantial enough to make other investors and banks take notice. Olivia sat in stunned silence, her hands trembling as she held her coffee cup. "I can't let you risk your business like that," she whispered, but Sarah could see the hope fighting its way through her friend's hesitation. "This isn't charity," Sarah insisted, pulling up a spreadsheet on her laptop. "This is smart business. Look at these projections based on your expertise and market research. We'd be crazy not to do this." Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed with a call from her biggest client. She silenced it without a second thought. Some moments in life demanded your full attention, and this was one of them. The growing crowd outside the window had attracted the attention of the local news crew that happened to be covering a story nearby. A young reporter peered through the glass, clearly intrigued by the gathering of excited potential customers. "We need to think bigger," Sarah said, her excitement building. "What if we document this journey? Show others what's possible when communities come together. Your story could inspire so many other entrepreneurs facing similar barriers." Olivia's eyes widened as she began to see beyond her immediate challenges to the bigger picture. The next few weeks became a whirlwind of activity. Word spread through social media about the upcoming store opening, with local influencers sharing their excitement about finally having a beauty supply store that truly understood their needs. But not everyone was thrilled about the new competition. The owner of a large chain store 3 blocks away had started spreading rumors about their business model and trying to pressure suppliers not to work with them. Then came the morning Olivia arrived at the store to find their new sign had been vandalized. Sarah rushed over immediately, arriving just as a group of neighborhood women were already helping to clean up. What happened next would transform this step back into an unexpected opportunity, catching the attention of someone none of them could have anticipated. A sleek black car pulled up outside the store. The driver helped an elegantly dressed woman step out, someone both Sarah and Olivia instantly recognized from business magazines and television. Her presence there made no sense, yet there she was, walking purposefully toward their door. In her hand was a folder bearing the logo of one of the country's largest beauty product manufacturers. The mystery woman's expression was unreadable as she surveyed the scene. The partially cleaned graffiti, the group of community members armed with cleaning supplies, and the determination evident on every face. She opened the folder and pulled out a document that would either shatter or elevate everything Sarah and Olivia had been working toward. The tension in the room was palpable as she began to speak. Her first words caused Sarah to grab Olivia's hand in shock. The proposition she was about to lay out would challenge everything they thought they knew about business, friendship, and the power of standing together against odds that seemed insurmountable. But before those crucial words could fully register, another unexpected figure appeared in the doorway, someone whose presence would force everyone in the room to confront their own biases and assumptions about success, opportunity, and what it truly means to create lasting change in a community. The unexpected figure in the doorway was none other than Robert Chin, the CEO of Natural Beauty Enterprises, one of the largest beauty supply distributors in the Southeast. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere in the room. Sarah felt Olivia's grip tighten on her hand. Robert's company was the same one that owned the chain store that had been causing them problems. The elegantly dressed woman turned, a smile of recognition crossing her face. "Robert," she said coolly, "I didn't expect to see you here." The tension in her voice suggested there was history between them, though neither Sarah nor Olivia could guess what it might be. "Patricia," he nodded, then turned his attention to Olivia. "I believe we need to have a conversation about the future of beauty supply in this community." What happened next left everyone speechless. Patricia, who they now knew was the VP of Product Development at Glory Hair Care, stepped forward. "Before you say anything else, Robert, you should know that I'm here to offer Olivia's store an exclusive partnership deal. We've been following her social media presence and the community's response to her upcoming store. This is exactly the kind of authentic leadership our brand has been looking for." Robert's expression remained unreadable as he pulled out his phone and brought up an article. The headline made Sarah's heart skip a beat. "Traditional beauty supply chains facing criticism for discriminatory practices." The article featured interviews with numerous store owners who had faced similar barriers to Olivia's, and it was going viral. "The industry is changing," Robert said, his voice carrying a weight that seemed to fill the room. "But change isn't always what people think it is." He turned to face the growing crowd of community members who had gathered inside the store, many still holding cleaning supplies from dealing with the vandalism. "The graffiti," he continued, "I know who did it, and it's not who any of you think." Sarah stepped forward, her business consultant instincts kicking in. Something wasn't adding up. The timing of both Patricia and Robert's appearances, the viral article, the vandalism, it felt like pieces of a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. Then she noticed Olivia's expression change as she stared at her phone. Whatever she was looking at had drained the color from her face. "Sarah," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling, "you need to see this." She turned her phone screen toward her friend, revealing a live stream that was quickly gaining viewers. The comments section was exploding with reactions, and what they were seeing would force everyone in that room to question everything they thought they knew about this situation. Patricia and Robert exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them that suggested they knew more than they were letting on. The community members who had come to help clean were now pulling out their own phones, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief as the true story began to unfold on their screens. Just then, another figure appeared in the doorway, someone whose presence would transform this local business story into something that would capture national attention and force an entire industry to confront its long-standing practices. But before they could step inside, Olivia's phone rang with a call that would present her with the most difficult decision of her career, one that would test not just her friendship with Sarah, but her own values and everything she'd been fighting for. The call was from a local journalist who had been investigating discriminatory lending practices in the beauty supply industry for the past year. The live stream Olivia was watching wasn't just going viral. It was a coordinated expose featuring dozens of stories just like hers, all breaking simultaneously across the country. Their small store in Atlanta had unknowingly become the tipping point for a nationwide conversation about economic opportunity and industry reform. Robert stepped forward, his previous stern expression softening. The vandalism, he began, was orchestrated by someone within my own company, without my knowledge or approval. When I found out, I knew I had to make this right. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a document. This is my resignation as CEO of Natural Beauty Enterprises, effective immediately. But more importantly, this second document is a proposal to transform our chain stores into a franchise opportunity program, with priority given to experienced local business owners like Olivia. Patricia smiled, finally understanding why she'd been tipped off about this particular store opening. Glory Hair Care isn't just offering you a partnership, she announced, addressing both Sarah and Olivia. We want to establish a nationwide mentorship program, using your friendship and business model as the template. Sometimes, the most powerful changes come from unexpected alliances. The crowd that had gathered to clean graffiti erupted in cheers, their phones still streaming everything live to an audience that had grown to hundreds of thousands. But Sarah noticed Olivia wasn't celebrating. Instead, her friend was staring intently at her laptop screen, running calculations. "This is incredible," Olivia said finally, looking up at everyone. "But before we accept any offers, I need to say something." She turned to Sarah, tears in her eyes. "You were willing to risk everything to help me succeed, not as a charity case, but as a business partner. That taught me something powerful about true allyship." She faced Robert and Patricia. "So here's my counter-proposal." What Olivia outlined next left everyone stunned. She proposed a community ownership model that would revolutionize how beauty supply stores operated. Her store would become a pilot program where customers could become small-scale investors, creating a cycle of community wealth building. The profits would not only sustain the business but fund a grant program for other entrepreneurs facing similar barriers. Sarah watched as both Robert and Patricia's expressions changed from surprise to admiration. This wasn't just about one store anymore. It was about fundamentally changing how business could work. The live stream comments exploded with support, with viewers pledging to back similar initiatives in their own communities. But the biggest surprise came when the third figure who had appeared in the doorway finally stepped forward. It was the president of the National Beauty Suppliers Association, carrying preliminary approval for a new industry-wide diversity and community investment initiative, inspired by the very model Olivia had just proposed. 3 months later, the store's grand opening drew crowds from across the country. The lines wrapped around the block as people came not just to shop, but to witness the beginning of a movement. Sarah and Olivia stood together, cutting the ribbon, their friendship now a symbol of what was possible when people chose to challenge the status quo. Yet even as they celebrated, Sarah noticed something in the store's sales data that would lead them to their next big discovery, one that would prove this was just the beginning of their story. Because sometimes the most powerful changes start small, with one person willing to stand up and say, "There has to be a better way," and another person brave enough to stand beside them and say, "Let's build it together." 1 year after the grand opening, Sarah and Olivia sat in their favorite coffee shop, the same one that had served them terrible coffee during their first meeting. The store's sales data had revealed something unexpected. Their customer base wasn't just diverse in terms of demographics, but also included wholesale buyers from major salon chains who appreciated their curated, high-quality product selection. The community ownership model had exceeded all expectations. Over 500 local residents had become micro-investors, each earning quarterly dividends from the store's success. More importantly, their pilot program had sparked similar initiatives across the country. 23 new beauty supply stores had opened under the same model, each adapting to their local community's needs while maintaining the core principle of shared ownership. Robert Chen had found his true calling as a mentor for new business owners, using his industry experience to help others navigate the challenges he once unconsciously perpetuated. His franchise opportunity program had transformed 50 existing chain stores into locally owned businesses, creating a ripple effect of economic empowerment throughout the industry. Patricia's mentorship program through Glory Hair Care had paired over 100 aspiring entrepreneurs with experienced business owners, focusing particularly on communities that had historically lacked access to such opportunities. The program's success had caught the attention of other major manufacturers, leading to industry-wide changes in distribution practices and startup support. But perhaps the most meaningful outcome wasn't in the numbers or accolades. It was in the daily moments, like when a young girl walked into the store with her mother, pointing excitedly at the product she'd seen reviewed on their community channel, or when an aspiring entrepreneur arrived clutching a business plan, hoping to apply for their grant program. "You know what still amazes me?" Olivia said, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. That day when everything seemed to be falling apart actually became the moment everything started falling into place. But it wasn't just about the business opportunities or the industry changes. She looked at Sarah with genuine emotion in her eyes. It was about having someone believe in me enough to take a stand. Sarah smiled, remembering her own doubts and fears from that day. "I think that's what real friendship looks like," she replied. "Not just supporting each other's dreams, but being willing to challenge the systems that make those dreams harder for some people to achieve." The sales data anomaly they'd noticed during the opening had led them to develop a revolutionary inventory management system, specifically designed for community-owned businesses. They were now preparing to make it available as open-source software, ensuring that future entrepreneurs would have the tools they needed to succeed. As they left the coffee shop, they passed a magazine stand. Their story was still making headlines, but now it was inspiring others to create their own versions of positive change. The headline read, "Beauty Supply Revolution: How Two Friends Transformed an Industry." Walking back to the store, they passed the spot where the graffiti had once been. Now there was a mural created by local artists, celebrating the community's journey. It served as a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful transformations come from the darkest moments. "Ready for our next challenge?" Sarah asked, pulling up the latest expansion proposals on her tablet. Olivia grinned, eyes already scanning the possibilities. Because that's the thing about real change. It's not a single moment or victory, but a continuous journey of growth, learning, and believing in something bigger than yourself. And as they stepped into their store, greeted by the familiar chime of the door and the warm smiles of their staff, they knew that this wasn't just a success story about a beauty supply store. It was a testament to what happens when friendship, community, and courage come together to prove that the most powerful beauty of all lies in our ability to lift each other up.